Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Worshipful Mayor of Maidstone.
Good morning, members. Prayers this morning will be said by the Reverend Will North of St Margaret's Church, Barmin. Thank you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks for our civic life and our common life. We give you thanks for all who've responded to the call to serve in public office. Especially today, we give you thanks for Councillor Marion and her dedication for the past 2 years as Mayor. We pray, Lord, for your blessing upon her and Richard as they move on to fresh challenges. May they be aware of your presence with them. We also pray, Lord, for our new Mayor, Councillor Faye Gooch, and her husband Peter. We pray that she and all our public representatives may recognise that they are under your authority. May they display leadership and service after the example of our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus, may you grant Faye with the wisdom, the courage, and the strength that she will need to take on this office. May you defend her on every side. Make her strong in faith and love. Guide her in truth and peace. Help her to serve with integrity and honesty for the good of the people of this borough. And may the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you all and those you love, now and forevermore. Amen.
These proceedings will be webcast and recorded. Please all be seated. These proceedings will be webcast and recorded by the Council, but will anybody else be recording or filming them? I ask so that people at the meeting will know if this will be happening. Councillor Mackay, thank you, Malcolm. Item 2, we have received apologies for Councillor Bryant. Yeah. I've got nothing on the back. Thank you. Provisional apologies for Councillor Arwood. Thank you. Are there any more apologies for absence? Thank you. Item 3. Are there any applications with dispensations? These questions should be addressed to the Head of Legal Partnership Monitoring Officer.
No, no notifications have been issued regarding dispensations. Thank you.
Thank you. 4. Are there any disclosures of interest by members? No. Are there any disclosures by officers? No, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of lobbying? Yeah. May I have the nomination for the election of Mayor? Councillor Mumford. Oh, yeah.
Hang on.
Oh.
Can you hear me now? Right. So I know I'm mixed up with me mask, me hearing aids, and all I've got is echo. But, Madam Mayor, members, guests, good morning. The only two good things about social distancing is, one, it prevents this horrible disease, and two, no one knows when you last showered. I'm of the opinion that if you could smell someone, keep away, you're too close. What an honour I have today, speaking about my friend Faye Gooch and becoming Mayor of Maidstone. Most of the speeches, as you know, this morning will be telling us how wonderful Faye is. I mean, I think we all know how wonderful Faye is. So I think with such an important appointment, we should have a criteria, and I'd like to revisit the criteria that we went through when we elected her deputy mayor. And that starts with, has she got all of her marbles? Well, this time with the drought during April, we had to look at something else, and has she got a full deck of cards? Well, there's some missing, but you can still play Snap. Is she willing? Well, yes, she is willing. She's asked me to speak on her behalf, so I can assure you she is willing to take this appointment. Is she able, after 13 years representing her ward, deputy mayor, deputy leader, on all kinds of committees? She spends most of her life in the town hall. I think she is very, very committed. Leadership, we spoke last time about how she has led the independent group so well. A group of oddballs that the council don't know what to do with and put in a group. They've got one manifesto pledge: we will disagree with you, with ourselves, with anyone. And to lead that, she's done a fantastic job. So yes, up until recently, she has proved that she is a leader. Recently, she got abdication confused with delegation and dumped me with the party in run. So that is the only drawback there. Commitment. You will know that nearly every committee you sit on, Faye will pop up. Is she nosy? I'm not sure. But she's there. She's there as a member, or she's persuaded someone that she should go as sub, or she will go as a visiting member. So much so that Peter hardly sees her. But that's all about to change. I think Peter will become her consort, and we'll see a lot more of Faye. than what he has done in the past, where he's had to hang around the town hall just to get a glimpse of her. They might find or recover their young love. Enthusiasm. Faye demonstrates enthusiasm by the bucketful. Faye can be enthusiastic about being enthusiastic. I truly believe that Faye will make an excellent mayor. I believe that she was born for it, and I'm sure you will all agree with me. Good luck, Faye, and most of all, enjoy the next year. Therefore, I would like to propose that Faye Lynette Gooch, a councillor of the borough, is duly elected mayor of the borough of Maidstone until the annual meeting of the council in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry, would you like to second this?
I'll make sure the technology works. Madam Mayor, members, guests and officers, this gives me great pleasure to support and second the election of Councillor Faye Gooch to be Mayor of the Borough of Maidstone for the municipal year 2021-22. I've said this before, but for the benefit of our new members, I will say it again. Councillor Gooch is one of the most positive persons you will ever meet. She's already made a major contribution to our borough in her roles as chair of her parish council, deputy council leader and deputy mayor. But above all, I know that as mayor, she'll put a much needed smile on the faces of the residents of this borough. I am sure I'm speaking for everyone in this room in wishing you, Faye, all the very best in what I know will be a very successful year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. I call upon Councillors Cox and then Harper will support the motion.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. When asked to support something like this, you think that you're going to have to follow everybody else that's spoken. Indeed, everything has been said about our soon-to-become First Lady of Maidstone. When she becomes Mayor, I think it's, as we've heard, 13 years that she's been warming up for the act. It won't be an act. She's absolutely marvellous. She's been fantastic as the Deputy Leader. She's been there for the support. She harbours Maidstone in her very soul, I think. And I think as she goes around the borough, she will find the warmth from the people of Maidstone reflected by her warmth that she will bring. She is our first ambassador, I'm sure, and I totally support with the members of the Liberal Democrats. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harper.
For letting me speak. I've known Faye for 7 years now, since I was elected to the council, so not obviously 13 years as some of you have. And as I said to Faye earlier today, I've put my suit on, and it's very rare, as most Annabelle and others will know, that I wear a suit to council meetings, but I always give respect to the incoming mayor at their first meeting. So whether the suit comes out again after today for another year, I'm not sure yet. But anyway, Faye is a really kind and hard-working person. I don't think we could wish for better. I've worked with Faye in various capacities over the 7 years and have got to know her well, and it's been referred to as some of the meetings she's chaired and been on. In the pre-COVID world, which seems like eons ago, we'd used to have the occasional coffee around at Faye's house to discuss issues relating to the council and so on, and she'd always provide coffee or tea and cakes, and you know, there were nice occasions when you got to know somebody as a person rather than just someone sitting in this chamber. I think it has already been said, but Faye always sees the best in people and she'll always give everybody a chance. and Faye is not judgmental in any way, which I think are perfect qualities for our mayor and perfect qualities actually for all of us as councillors to try to have. Faye, when I was typing these notes yesterday, I can see what you know, look, I could just see you smiling and grinning away. And that's what you're doing, smiling and grinning away as you always do, because you're always happy and constructive. And that is a really good quality for us all. Prior to COVID, in the dim distant past, Faye used to provide me with an excellent bespoke taxi service. She would always be happy to run myself and Councillor Keith Atkinson, who's retired now, home after any meeting, with smiling and happy to do it. And there wasn't even an ejector seat button. So we actually got home safely. And, you know, when I was going into meetings at crack of dawn ones, when we were on Leaders Committee together, she would pick me up outside the house and be so apologetic if she was more than a minute late. And, you know, I mean, that just sort of speaks volumes for Faye. But now, unfortunately, for a year, my taxi service has been suspended because Faye's now going to be going out and looking after a wider flock, the 170,000 great residents of Maidstone. Faye's going to bring a vibrancy and an energy to the role, and to be honest, I've no idea how she juggles everything with Peter and the family life, the parish council and being a councillor, but she will do. She would do it in her normal way and her calm, measured way of doing things. Faye's popularity as a woman of the people could not have been demonstrated better than only a couple of weeks ago in the elections, when she had that thumping majority and that endorsement by her residents, which I think was an endorsement by the whole borough for her to be our mayor. In Faye, we have an ambassador we can be proud of, one who will roll her sleeves up and give everything a go. For us in this chamber, I'm sure with her love of democracy, she will chair our meetings scrupulously and with never-ending charm and grace. Faye's going to be supported by her husband, who I've no idea where he is in this socially distanced hall, Peter, and I'm sure Peter will keep Faye on an even keel. And as most of us who've phoned her up at home around 5 o'clock in the evening will know, she says, hold on a minute, I've only got 10 minutes, I've got to go and cook Peter dinner. And I'm sure, Faye, you need to make sure that that doesn't slip from your routine and you continue to look after your 2 dogs and don't let them become out of health. So really, it just finally comes, I almost feel like proposing a toast, if it wasn't we're all just sitting there with glasses of water, to Faye, that you will be an excellent mayor, and I'm really proud that you're going to be the mayor to represent us all over the next 12 months. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? I therefore put the motion to the council. Is the motion agreed? Thank you. Then we leave the hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of Maidstone. for the Worshipful Mayor of Maidstone, Councillor Faye Gooch.
Madam Mayor, it gives me absolute great pleasure to congratulate you on being the Mayor of Maidstone. I'm sure you'll have a brilliant year and the public will really enjoy your year in office, so congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Yes, please. I will now make my declaration of office and hopefully I can read it because my glasses keep steaming up. I, Faye Gooch, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Borough of Maidstone, declare that I take office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I think the next bit now is for me to present the Mayor's consort with his badge. And I think if anybody can provide me with any wipers for my glasses, I would be very grateful. Thank you. It's amazing, isn't it? All the rehearsal and everything's mapped out for you as to what happens next. And yet still, you think, now what do I do? Now what do I do? Now what I do is to thank you. I have to thank you, all my fellow councillors, for your kind words. Steve, you did me proud. Thank you very much, Councillor Munford. I've always loved your dry wit and sense of humour, and you didn't let me down this time at all. And Councillor Perry, I'm ever so glad that you mentioned my chairmanship of Barming Parish Council. You've been the parish champion for so long, so it was particularly meaningful for you to support the motion. Thank you very much for your words. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Harper, you always go on for too long, don't you? All your council meetings. But thank you very, very much indeed. Your words were very, very kind. And Councillor Cox, thank you for your words, brief and to the point. And can I say how much I have enjoyed being your deputy? You've been a great leader. Thank you very much. It was an honour for you to support the motion. Thank you. I absolutely cannot begin to tell you how proud and excited I am to have been elected Mayor of Maidstone for this coming year. I have to say a few thank yous, I'm afraid, so please bear with me. First of all, I must thank Councillor Marion Ring. Marion and your husband Richard as your consort, you've been mayor for 2 years. And you know what? I think you're one of the few mayors I think you're going to have your name listed on the board of past mayors more than once, aren't you? Wow, how about that for a claim to fame? Well done, you deserve it. A big thank you to Mike and Maureen, Pat and Roy. They know who they are. They do know who they are. And David Marchant for the immense help they gave me 13 years ago, getting me elected as the member for Barming and Teesson. I thank the residents of Barming and Teesson for their support over the past 13 years. I hope I've lived up to their expectations. I'd like to thank members for tolerating me. I can be forceful when I need to be, and for having elected me as deputy for the last 5 years. I hope I've lived up to your expectations. A big thank you to our Chief Executive, Alison Broom. Yes, I'm sorry, Alison, another thank you. And all her officers, Mark, for listening, supporting, advising, and for working alongside us councillors towards a better Maidstone. We've achieved a lot together, haven't we, Martin? Thank you to my family for their support, as my hat nearly wobbles off my head. My family has given me an awful lot of understanding of the time and effort it has taken me to be a borough councillor. Oh, and a quick mention, my dear nephew, Philippe. I hope that he's watching this from his home in South Africa. Morning, Philippe. That's the thank yous over. I won't be quite as long as Councillor Harper. I'm only on my second page. On a serious note, though, the pandemic has demonstrably brought out the best in people. The wonderful staff that we have at Maidstone Borough Council, whose adaptability and dedication overcame the unprecedented challenges to get services to our residents. The incredible effort of community groups, parish councils. You see, Councillor Perry, I had to mention them again. That's where we come from. Our wonderful, I meant to say also, parish councils, local churches, that the help they've given has been inspiring. Our wonderful voluntary and charitable organisations have taken a serious hit, financial hit, I mean, and I will work hard to help revitalise their fundraising efforts. So please, if you have your own local charity that you want to help promote, to get the money coming in, please, I would be more than happy to come along and help the show along. But you know, our borough of Maidstone has so much to offer, so much for our residents and for our visitors to explore and enjoy our parks, the river, the beautiful rural settings, our heritage, our culture. Councillor Harper, I thought you might like it if I mentioned our heritage and culture. So much to attract and maintain businesses and entrepreneurs. Our county town, Maidstone Innovation Centre. Maidstone is open for business. I'd like to dedicate my year as mayor to promoting businesses in the town and throughout the borough. Often when we talk about Maidstone, we just assume that we mean the town. We actually mean the whole borough. To bring everything back to not just what it was in 2019, but even better than before. I'm sure that with us councillors, Alison Broom and her team, we will all be working just as hard to achieve the best outcomes for the residents of Maidstone and for the county town of Kent. As we continue along the roadmap out of the pandemic, with hopefully the worst of it behind us, what a promising time this is for me to have the privilege of becoming Mayor of Maidstone, first citizen of the borough, its ambassador, with a brighter future ahead of us. Thank you, members. Now that brings us to agenda item 7. I actually have my eye on the ball for a change. I would like to call on Samuel Luxton from Maidstone Grammar School.
Has had a long and established association with the Borough Council for many years, with the Mayor as an ex officio governor. It is always pleasing to welcome the Mayor to school events and share with us the values and traditions that we hold, and I hope that this tradition carries forward into the future. On behalf of Maidstone Grammar School, I wish Councillor Gooch a very successful year and look forward to welcoming her to MGS soon, 2 metres away or not. Thank you.
As a head student at Maidstone Grammar School for Girls, I feel honoured to have the opportunity to congratulate you, Councillor Gooch, on your new position as Mayor of Maidstone. MGDS has been an integral part of the Maidstone community for over 130 years and has educated and supported many of the people who still live here today. There is a large focus on making school enjoyable, inspiring students and cultivating their talents and interests. Throughout the year, we have many traditions, including Rag Week and House Arts, which bring everyone together and show a strong community spirit. I'm aware that you have a strong passion for music, which many of our students also share. We hold annual carol services and have a singing event which raises money for a charity of choice, which helps to further serve our community. Therefore, on behalf of MGGS, I would like to invite you to attend one of our events so you can see the wide range of creative skills our students have to offer. During your career, Miss Mayor, you have worked in many different sectors, but your work in the environment sector is one that really stands out to me. At MGGS, we put a big emphasis on improving the environment, which is supported by our motto, non-sibi sed omnibus, meaning not for oneself, but for all. Collectively, we have seen how everyone making a small change can make a large, long-lasting impact, and I have no doubt that during your time as Mayor, you will be a positive influence on all the residents of Maidstone. Our school's history and success is intertwined with the history of the town, and I look forward to working with you within the community on issues that are close to your heart. On behalf of all the students and staff at MGGS, we wish you the best for your year in office and hope you find it extremely rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. I very much look forward to coming to see your school, and watch out for that singing, because I do a bit of singing myself, so just be warned, okay? I'm pleased to call on Ruby Symington from my own local Barming Primary School.
Good morning. On behalf of Barming Primary School, I would like to congratulate Councillor Faye Gooch on becoming Mayor of Maidstone. We hope you find this job enjoyable and worthwhile. We all wish you the very best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ruby. And don't forget, make yourself known to me when I come round to see you at Barming School, okay? Thank you all to our speakers. I'm sorry I can't make a presentation myself, but there will be a little something for you round the corner. Thank you so much. See, I turned it off again. I now call upon Councillor Mrs. Blackmore to move a motion thanking Councillor Marion Ring and Mr. Richard King.
I'm not sure whether the microphone works or not. May I congratulate you, Madam Mayor, on your new position. We're all honoured to have you as our Mayor for the forthcoming year. However, we need to say a fond farewell and thank you to Councillor Mrs. Marion Ring. She's been stoical, stubborn, and incredibly special to many of us. She can be, at times, difficult. But that's one of the things that makes Marion unique, and one of the things that we treasure about her. But a little bit of name dropping. 2 years ago, Marion took the former councillor Chris Garland, he's still alive, and myself and her lovely husband Richard to Buckingham Palace for tea with the Queen, no less. There were 7,500 other people there, but we were the special ones. And what a lovely day we had, serenaded by 2 brass bands in a number of marquees. A month later, Marion took me to Penshurst Place, to the retirement party for Viscount de Lisle. Again, there were another 200 other people there, but we had a lovely day. A few weeks after that, Marion took me to a black-tie dinner at Leeds Castle with Princess Alexandra, and what a lovely time we had. 3 really special occasions that I will never forget, and that's what makes Marion special, because she wants to share all of these things with as many people as possible. So what has Marion left us with? Her name on the board twice in a chamber that many of you are yet to see, and I hope you will appreciate the history there. I will add, Marion will be the only woman on that board to have her name written twice. I said you were unique, Marion. But finally, she's left us with tea parties for all, a way to invite members of the public to sample the town hall, to have a tour. Not a place where stuffy councillors undertake meetings, but a place to be shared. So Marion, thank you so much for everything you've done. I would like it noted that the hearty thanks of the Council be given to Councillor Mrs. Marion Ring and to Mr. Richard Ring for the admirable discharge of their duties as Mayor and Mayor's Consort during the last 2 years, and for their courteous approach to all sections of the community. Marion, we salute you and thank you so much.
Well said, Councillor. Oh, I want to call you Annabelle, I'm sorry, and that's it. I now call upon Councillor Mrs Joy to second the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and my heartfelt congratulations to yourself and to Peter. Marion, your appointment as Mayor back in 29 was expected and I suggest planned to a degree, and I know more than fulfilled your expectations of representing the county town of Maidstone. The mayoral duties you undertook during your term of office showed us your great community spirit, which you shared with residents, organisations, businesses and charities. Your knack of making people feel comfortable was apparent and really appreciated by many. Our appreciation and thanks, of course, would have been shared in 2020. However, despite the year's unexpected challenges brought about by COVID-19, you agreed to take on the role as Mayor for another year. This wasn't expected or planned, but you agreed, which entailed so many changes for us all. Who would have thought that we would have been holding Skype meetings? No easy task for a lot of us, but again, you stepped up, Marion, and took no nonsense from those that tried to be difficult, and I'm not going to mention any names. Today, we extend our thanks and gratitude for the dedicated way you have served our county town. I know your passion for your residents and your community spirit will always be with you. So I hereby second the motion with many thanks to you both. Thank you, Marion.
Well said, Councillor Joy, especially during this difficult pandemic, and Councillor Ring has still kept us going. Thank you, Marion. I would like to add my own thanks, actually, Marion, and it was a particular act of kindness you showed me. I don't know if you remember back, it's only a couple of years, we were at the annual service of remembrance at the crematorium, at Vinter's Crematorium, and it was during one of the hymns we were singing, and I got a bit distressed. And I was sitting right next to you, and you just put your hand on top of my hand. And that was a great comfort. You just squeezed my hand. And just to know that there was somebody there to help me through that difficult bit. Thank you so much. I've remembered it all this time. It was that act of kindness. And let's face it, we need more acts of kindness, don't we? I better call on Councillor Harper, please, to support the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think, Marion, a lot has been said today, and a lot was said previously. I think your time as Mayor for our borough, you've had one constant theme, and that's of inclusion. We've heard a lot about, including lots of groups. But I think there's been one event you held which I think really sums up your approach to being the Mayor. Annabelle already mentioned it, but it was the initiative which you did, which was the Tea Party, which hopefully will continue as a fundamental part of our calendar now for all mayors to do. And that Tea Party, you invited all councillors to bring along older members of their communities, people who perhaps the unsung heroes, I think was your phrase, of Maidstone, to the council chamber, and we had a good old-fashioned tea party. But it was a tea party with a slight difference. You got all of us councillors to be the hired help, or shall I say unhired help, for the day. We were the ones who went around serving everybody, as well as yourself. And I still get, from the people I took along, from Fant, people still remember that event, even though that's now 2 years ago, because it was such a nice event and such a way of rewarding, as I say, the unsung heroes of the borough. Marion, I hope that you and Richard have fond memories of your time as Mayor, perhaps the first year more than obviously this last year. and now you can return to the world of the mortals amongst us all, and I'm sure you'll take your part in committee meetings and council meetings as we go forward, and we'll all now benefit from your unique view of things and, you know, from your experience, which you bring a lot of benefits to us. So thank you very much for being there.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. So, well, councillors, does the council approve the motion of thanks to Councillor Marion Ring? Thank you very much indeed, and I now call on Councillor Marion Ring to reply.
Thank you, everybody. Can you hear? Good. Okay. I thank you all for voting for me who did when I first took the role on. I worried sick that I wouldn't be able to manage it, but I did. I managed it because there are some wonderful people out there. Some we know, some we don't. And the greatest pleasure was going to meet them and spending an hour, 2 hours. Time was never our limit. Ask the guys afterwards. We've had some laughs. We've been to some places where it was only half an hour and Marion's still there 2 hours later. And I think that's the passion that you can show. The tea party was brilliant. And as you say, people still stop me now and say, and I know Faye's going to carry that on because I think that's something that we should do. I did go to businesses, which was a grand thing. But in my own Marion thinking, that's not my role to get a business to Maidstone. That's our officers' roles. Mine is to look after all the people that pay their council tax. So that's how I felt about it. To meet these people, to show them anybody can become a councillor. If you're passionate enough, you can do that. But also that we are human beings, and that was the nice thing to pass on, and that our officers backed us all the way. So I know Faye will do a good job because Faye is passionate about communities, and it is nice. I'm not going to tell you how much I raised. All I'll say to you is I helped out 27 charities. And whatever they asked for, they got. And I've still got change at the moment, so I've still got a couple of charities that I'm going to work on to give the rest of the money. But that was the nice thing as well. I wasn't going round trying to, oh, I raised 20 million, I did this, I did that. I didn't care. But I raised all that money, really, for doing nothing. It was just going round and people saying, you look like you need some money, I'll help you. I got lots of business people to go to actual charities and give them money or whatever they were asking for, a microwave. One company, I met the boss and he brought a washing machine for another charity that I knew about. So I've been really pleased I've been able to do that. I couldn't do that out of my own pocket. I've got someone else who could do it to do it. So that's how I got money. Not sometimes in cash, but in kindness. My last things I'd like to do is, Alison, thank you so much, you and the officers, for all your support that you've given me. And I'd like to say very special thanks to Julie, Russell and Ray. If you listen to them, that guide Jake will have nothing to worry about. They will put you straight away. So enjoy your year. It will be lovely. Let's hope that you can get up and get out again. And I look forward to bringing my 6 residents to your tea party. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Councillor Mrs. Ring. I would like to now invite the retiring Mayor and Mayor's Consort to please come forward to receive medallions and gifts celebrating their years of office.
I was going to have a photo taken. It's a bit strange this year because they have to pick it up themselves rather than be given it.
Of course, yes. Now, while Marion returns to her seat, I'd like to take this very quick opportunity to welcome our new members. I've had to take off some photos. I've taken them off the website so that I know who is who. I know Councillor Cook and Councillor Cooper, your faces are well known, but there are other people around, certainly Councillor Coates, but there are other members, and I want to thank you all for coming along. This is really quite a strange first council meeting for you. Oh, hello, I've just seen Councillor Holmes over there in my neighbouring ward of Heath Ward. Morning, Councillor Holmes. It's really peculiar, so things are taking a bit longer, but the main thing is I hope you, all the new councillors, feel just as welcome. Of course, the existing councillors, they're just used to it, and they're probably like me, gasping for a cup of tea. However, that brings us swiftly on to agenda item 8. Now, members, is it agreed that the items on the agenda be taken in public? We have no yellow papers. I'm assuming that we can just crack on. Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 9. I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Borough Council held on the 24th of February 2021 be approved as a correct record. Agreed. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Now, agenda item 10. Could I have nominations for the appointment of Deputy Mayor, please? And before we actually have those, I should read out that in accordance with the agreed protocol to guide members when appointing the Deputy Mayor, the most senior member of the Council, as set out in the order of seniority by length of service of members, who have not previously held the office of Mayor and who wishes to take up that office, and who has served for a minimum period of 6 years, Councillor Mortimer, should be appointed to the position of Deputy Mayor. You've been here for ages, I know. And that member is Councillor Derek Mortimer. So I would like to call on Councillor Clark to move the motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to extend my sincerest congratulations to yourself in your new role. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fantastic in the next year.
Thank you.
Now to Derek. I've known Derek for many years. We met after his first election when I was a committee member of the North Lewes Residents Association. Derek never hesitated to take up some of our biggest challenges at the borough. Around 2011, Derek joined us for coffee ahead of our AGM, although instead of his usual tales of hanging out with David Bowie and other rock royalty from his past in and around Bromley, as you do, Derek was looking quite serious. He told us about a new planning policy framework, and he was emphatic If we wanted to get ahead of the game, we would need to develop a neighbourhood plan. This set the wheels in motion, often with officers having to research next steps as the plan progressed. It became the first neighbourhood plan adopted by this council in 2018 and left a clear pathway for others. Along the way, Derek encouraged myself and Councillor Wilby to offer up a couple of hours each week to join him at the borough. Derek, you should have been in sales. So thanks, Derek. Both Councillor Wilby and I would also like to extend thanks to Derek's wife, Sally, who has been patient, accommodating and gracious during times of late-night casework, ad hoc meetings and emergency call-outs over the many years, most recently in the early days of the pandemic, when Derek was out leafleting residents and providing daily support with food and prescriptions. Sally, this will be a rare opportunity to savour some lighter times at the borough with Derek. To close, I would like to say I'm honoured to propose that Councillor Derek John Mortimer be duly elected Deputy Mayor for the Borough of Maidstone until the annual general meeting of the Council in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I would now like to call on Councillor Munford. You'd forgotten, hadn't you, Councillor Munford?
Me. Someone nod, because I can't hear anything because I think it's my hearing aids are picking up all over the place. I hope you can hear me. So, Derek, I'm going to keep this short, but we're both used to that because we're both vertically challenged. For the Conservatives, that means short. I've worked with Derek on many committees, and I get information about his ward work. He has got one of the most demanding residents within his ward, who keeps me informed often of his performance. And so far, he has satisfied her to the point she carries on voting for him. That's my daughter. And Derek, Claire said, could you get the pedestrian crossing painted? And the barrier from the car park has been stolen. So if he can keep her happy, I think he's doing very well in his ward. As far as on the committees, Derek is all, even when it gets emotive, Derek is always calm. He treats everybody with dignity and respect. He is polite, but most of all, he is effective. The best compliment I can pay him, if I ever held a barbecue, which would be the first one, I would have no problem in inviting him to my garden. Not many of you fall into that list. So I would love, and it's a privilege and an honour, to second the nomination for Derek as Deputy Mayor of Maidstone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Munford. I'd now like to call on Councillor Springett and Councillor Mackay. Councillor Springett first, please. Can't see where you are.
...2010, and I was first elected in 2011. Now, as is the custom on these occasions, I have tried to find a particularly amusing or embarrassing story to tell about you. My goodness, I was inundated, but most of them aren't repeatable. So, despite my best efforts, I haven't really succeeded. You're always cheerful, always friendly, quite the gentleman. Well, I think you are. You're quite a dapper dresser at times, with your waistcoats and matching ties and jacket. I do have reservations about the trainers, but I see today you've gone a bit more traditional. For those of you that belong to the generation that actually read books, I don't think there's a dummy's guide on how to be a mayor, so you'll have to learn on the job, so to speak. But I'm sure you'll do very well in readiness for your mayor's role next year. With your relaxed manner and friendly disposition, I'm sure you'll make an excellent Deputy Mayor this year and an even better Mayor next year, and you will offer invaluable support to our newly elected Mayor, Councillor Faye Gooch. Therefore, I'm very pleased to support the nomination of Councillor Derek Mortimer for the position of Deputy Mayor until the annual meeting in 2022. Thank you.
Well said, Councillor Springett. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Councillor Mackay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First time I've had to say that to you. I'd understood that the AGM, there was going to be very little opportunity to speak, so I was surprised. So I rather hurriedly got a few words together because I can't be outspoken by Mr. Harper, Councillor Harper. But seriously, when Derek asked if I would say a few words in support of his nomination as Deputy Mayor, I was delighted. I could think of no other that had the many qualities that will enhance the role and assist the Mayor. Yourself, Mayor Faye Gooch. My only concern, and I share this with Councillor Springett, is Derek is a bit of a dappy dresser, and that when he does become Deputy Mayor, he will not have the opportunity to display some of his collection of suits and sometimes quite colourful shirts. But I'm sure he will overcome that. Derek, your warmth and welcome are ever present. Without hesitation, I support Derek Mortimer in his nomination as Deputy Mayor. So it's a 4 from me.
Thank you, Councillor Mackay. Well said. Thank you, both of you. Are there any other nominations? I'm not aware of any. Oh, I hope there aren't any, because I very much hope that the motion is agreed. So is the motion agreed, members? Thank you very much indeed. The Deputy Mayor will then robe and take his seat. When the Deputy Mayor has finished mucking about with his robe, fighting his way, trying to get it on, he will be making his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Derek John Mortimer, having been appointed to the office of Deputy Mayor of the Borough of Maidstone, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Welcome on board, Derek. I now invite the Deputy Mayor and the Deputy Mayoress to come forward to receive their badges of office.
Now that the Deputy Mayor's got the badge round the right way, I'm going to call on the Deputy Mayor to thank the Council for his appointment.
Just to say thank you to every one of you for your full support, and thank you to Brian, Steve, Val and Malcolm for your fantastic words. It's I'll really remember that. I've got to say a very special thank you to my wonderful wife Sally and for continually supporting me. And Faye, you've got my full support for the rest of the year, and any time you want any help, just give me a call and I'll be there. Okay. All the best. Thank you.
That brings us on to agenda item 11. Now, I don't want to take up any more time by making any mayoral announcements. However, I want to promote the fact that it's very soon, I know, I can't read my own writing, but there will be a relaunch of Maidstone Market quite soon. 12th of June, I beg your pardon. Now, we're going to be relaunching Maidstone Market, and it would be wonderful, I will be there of course, I want as many councillors to be there as possible, and I would very much like to point the finger at the Fant Ward councillors, because I understand the Lock Meadow Market is in your patch. Well, here in a public meeting, I hereby I expect to see all three of you, even our newbie, Councillor Patrick Coates, you can come as well. It'll be there I'm going to be there for a good hour maybe, but everybody is invited. I think Councillor Pearl actually, isn't your patch next to Lock Meadow? Excellent, so we can look forward to you being there now. Okay, I hereby commit you. But apart from that, there is plenty going on, but I think we now need to move on, now that I have the full commitment of everybody, to go to the reopening of the Lock Meadow Market. And of course, we've put a lot of money into Lock Meadow, one way and another. So let's really show it to the county town of Kent. Moving on to agenda item 12, we've got to the important bit at last. Well, it's all been important, but I think this is the bit that most of us have been waiting for. Could I have your nominations, please, for I've got to finish my sentence, I'm sorry. Nominations, please, for the election of the leader of the council, please. Who went up first? Was it Councillor Pearl first? Thank you. Councillor Pearl?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I congratulate you on your own elevation, and if I may, I should like to nominate Councillor David Burton.
Thank you. Were there any other nominations, Councillor Blackmore?
To have a second, Madam Mayor.
I'm glad that you're happy to second the nomination. Thank you. Now, that means, do we need to have a vote? Are there no other nominations? In which case, I didn't bring my binoculars with me, but I believe that Councillor David Burton, congratulations, members have agreed, haven't we, members? I need to have your agreement. Hooray. Congratulations, Councillor David Burton, you are now leader of Maidstone Borough Council. I now have lost my place. One moment, please. Could I have nominations for the appointment of the Deputy Leader of the Council, please? Thank you. Councillor David Burton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations to you. I think we're already feeling waves of Fay enthusiasm. I would like to nominate Councillor Pearl as Deputy.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for Deputy Leader?
Could get a seconder.
I think perhaps I ought to have a seconder. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Actually, I think Councillor Blackmore beat you to it. We have a seconder. So that does appear in the absence of no other nominations. Members, are we in agreement that Councillor Jonathan Pearl be Deputy Leader of Maidstone Borough Council for the next year? Wonderful, thank you very much. Congratulations, Councillor Jonathan Pearl. That brings us on to agenda item 14, which is the review of allocation of seats on committees. And I call on the Head of Policy, Communications and Governance to submit her report to the Council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations. I commend the report to Council.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Oh, sorry, I need a proposer first. Thank you, Councillor Burton. I haven't had a seconder, just a tick. Oh, hang on, I've got Councillor Harper, I think I saw. Thanks, Alison. Oh, and I've got Councillor, all fighting for it, but I saw Councillor Harper first. So, did you want to say anything, Councillor Burton?
Wondered if you wanted me to move the motion, Madam Mayor.
I think that might be helpful.
I move that the allocation of seats on committees be as set out in Appendix 1 to the report of the Head of Policy, Communications and Governance.
Lovely. Is that motion agreed, members? Agreed. That's fine. Thank you very much indeed. That takes us on to agenda item 15, which is the appointment of committees. And I'll look to the leader, Councillor Burton, to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the wishes of the group leaders with regard to appointments to committees and substitutes as set out in the schedule circulated at the meeting be accepted.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Harper. I'm afraid Councillor Harper's beating you to it. You guys have got to be quicker off the mark on this side of the chamber. Okay. Does that mean that the motion is agreed, members? Excellent, thank you very much. We are now on to agenda item 16, adoption of the Council's constitution, including the scheme of delegation and the hybrid public meetings addendum to the constitution. I call on the Head of Legal Partnership and Monitoring Officer to introduce this item. Ms. Narrabor.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members are required to adopt the Constitution and the scheme of delegation. The agenda item also includes the hybrid public meetings addendum to the Constitution to enable visiting members and non-committee members and members of the public to attend meetings remotely, because meetings are now required to be held or continue to be held in a place rather than remotely. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Narrabor. I look to the leader, Councillor David Burton, to move the motion.
That subject to the deletion in part 3.1, rule 32.1 of the sentence, the chairman and vice chairman of each service committee shall come from different political groups. The Councillor's constitution, including the scheme of delegation and the hybrid public meetings addendum to the constitution, be adopted with effect from 22nd May 2021. May I take this opportunity to explain that deletion allows the selection of vice chairs and chairs to be from the widest possible pool of available candidates, and also I believe it paves the way to addressing an unfairness in so much as only two political groups have direct access to the briefings for agenda items at meetings, and I believe that there should be facility to all to receive that briefing equally.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. I do need a second for that. Oh, I think I saw Councillor Webb's, one of our new councillors. Councillor Webb, I think I saw your hand go up first. Thank you. There's a seconder. Do you wish to speak at all, Councillor Webb? No? You can reserve your right, though, I'm sure. Councillor Harper, I see you wish to speak.
Yes, I'd like to move an amendment to that proposal. And the amendment is that in the interest of good governance and democracy, and to enable a full consideration of the implications, that the item be referred to the Democracy and General Purposes Committee to make a recommendation to a future council meeting prior to the implementation of the proposed change. Thank you.
Do you have a seconder for that, Councillor Harper? I see Councillor Cox. Thank you for seconding. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Cox? No? Okay. I'm stuck.
So ask if anybody else wishes to speak on the amendment.
Would anybody else like to speak on the amendment from Councillor Harper? Councillor Pearl.
On a point of order, Madam Mayor, the motion moved by Councillor Burton was a composite motion, and the item cannot be deferred to the Democracy and General Purposes Committee because Section 9P, Local Government Act 2000, obliges us to have a constitution.
Thank you, Councillor Pearl. Is that indeed correct?
Well, we may need to clarify with Councillor Harper. So would you like me to do that?
Yes, please. Would you mind? One moment, please.
I wonder, before we do that, if we could clarify with Councillor Harper the intention behind his amendment. Was that to refer the whole constitution or simply the deletion of the reference to chairs and vice chairs?
It was just the reference to the deletion of chair and vice chair.
Is there any debate on the amendment proposed by Councillor Harper? No?
In which case you need to move to a vote on the amendment.
In that case, I wish to move to a vote on that amendment proposed by Councillor Harper. I think we'll have... Can everybody just hold their cards up? Is that what... Forgive me, members, just a tick. Whoa, I think I see a sea of red, but still.
Right, so ask for 4 first, and then against, and then abstention.
Lovely, thank you. I'm grateful to the Chief Executive, who at least knows what she's doing better than I do at this particular moment. First of all, can I see all those in favour? You can hold up your cards, green cards, 4. Nobody's abstaining by the looks of things.
No, but Clive hasn't got his green on. 21.
Lovely. 22. I'll have all those against, please. Hold your cards up high so that we can count them. In which case we'll now go to... Are there any abstentions? I think that's a yellow card, is it not? One abstention, thank you. Sorry, pardon? Oh. 4. I'm a 4. Thank you very much. I've got a green card after all these years. Okay.
The amendment is lost.
So, therefore, the amendment is lost. So we can now go on to vote on the substantive motion, which was put by Councillor David. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was put by Councillor David Burton.
Can you just check whether the seconder wishes to now speak?
Does the seconder wish to speak at this point? I think it was Councillor Webb, wasn't it? No? Okay, thank you anyway. In that case, let's move on the substantive motion. All those in favour, please hold up your green cards for. Oh. Sorry, Ryan, I forgot I can vote. Those against, thank you for the fours. Can I now have the red againsts? Are there any abstentions? No abstentions that I can see. That motion is therefore carried. Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item 17. Oh, this is one that I'm actually going to move because I was chairman of the committee at the time, which is the report of the Democracy and General Purposes Committee held on the 31st of March. It was the appointment of the independent person and reserve independent person. I move that the recommendations on page 22, amending the second recommendation to read. You've got the three recommendations there, you may see, members. But the recommendation, the second one, to read that the allowances paid per annum to the independent person and reserve independent person being £749 and £249 plus indexation rises for 2021 and 21-22 in accordance with the members' allowances scheme, respectively, be approved. I'd also like to add a third recommendation that Mrs. Barbara Varney, the previous independent person, be thanked for her services and valuable contribution over the years. I have a seconder for that, don't I? Thank you, Councillor Richard Webb. I see you at the very end. Thank you for seconding that. Are the recommendations as amended agreed, please, members? Thank you very much indeed. Now, members, on agenda item 18, which is the executive arrangements, you do have a briefing note, of course, and I think that I consider that it's convenient and conducive to the dispatch of business that the motion is dealt with by the Council today. A factual briefing note, as I say, has been circulated, and I look to Councillor Perry. Oh, we haven't had it moved yet, have we, Councillor Pearl? I do apologise. Would you like to move the motion?
Madam Mayor, your members will have to excuse me. I can't see beyond the end of my nose today, so I can't actually see many of you, actually. It's just sort of a blurb. In moving this motion, there are really 3 points I wish to make. The first, and I apologise for making it on this auspicious occasion, is that the current committee system is part and parcel of what is wrong with this council. I won't dwell on the point. The second point that I wish to make is that moving away from our current committee system does not mean we have to go back to the system that existed prior to 2015. There are quite a number of options. We are not obliged to have an executive of only a few portfolio holders. We are not obliged to do away with member discussion and scrutiny of decisions before they are made, and we are not obliged to do away with individual members moving individual initiatives. Sending this matter to Democracy and General Purposes is our offer to members across the chamber to have a proper discussion on working out a system that works best for members across the chamber. The third point I just wish to make is that having campaigned quite heavily on ward issues in the last couple of years, I can tell you that on our current arrangements, the council is, what's the phrase I'm looking for? It neither respects nor responds particularly well to the concerns of individual ward members, in my humble opinion. And this review would give us the opportunity to re-examine and potentially reset the rights and responsibilities of individual members in the context of the governance change. Madam Mayor, this is not a sort of winner-takes-all motion or set of proposals. This is a proposal for delivering the sort of step change and having a good discussion about delivering the step change in the quality of the Council's decision-making that the public clearly wishes. And I beg to move.
Thank you. I need to have Councillor Perry to second the motion. Is that right, Councillor Perry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I totally support what Councillor Pearl has just said, and I'm most happy to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blackmore, did you wish to speak? No, you're okay. Okay, would anybody else like to speak at all? Councillor Harper, thank you. Oh, Councillor English.
On behalf of the Labour Group, we oppose this proposal. We consider it anti-democratic and regressive. The committee system we've had in place in Maidstone over the last 7 years has worked well for the council, has worked well for the communities and the residents. It's provided people with access to decision-making. It's provided the public with the opportunity to address councillors and committees prior to them making a decision on items. It's also enabled all councillors from all political groups on the committee to have a full part in a decision-making process. Also, the committee system has enabled all visiting members to attend, which has been taken up frequently. And that, to me, seems to be the essence of democracy. We're voted here by the electorate to represent their views. Committee systems permits that. They are not perfect, but they are better than executive arrangements. I would just, for instance, remind people, and most of us were on the council for the last 4 or 5 years, that in most cases, through the committee system and discussions, most votes have gone through unanimously, without the need for calling, because we've had the chance to have everybody's view taken into account. I think moving away from a system which has no problems with it, to me, as I say, seems is regressive and anti-democratic. So I oppose this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. Next to speak, I have Councillor English, and then I have Councillor Munford. Thank you.
My colleagues, just in case. I think we are in danger sometimes in the council of getting into silos where we think one system is perfect and we have nothing to learn from any other systems. Like Councillor Mrs. Robertson and my ward colleague Councillor Joy and one of our committee clerks, I've been here long enough to see many different types of systems. Unlike Councillor Harper, I don't think that it can be truthfully said there are no flaws with our current committee system. There are, quite clearly, flaws. Are there flaws with cabinet systems? Yes. But of course, we're not deciding today on what system we're going to have. What I would hope we would do is actually have a discussion in which both sides get out of the trenches and actually talk to each other about what is the most sensible system to have. We started off in Maidstone when we had a cabinet and scrutiny system with a reasonably effective system. What happened over time was the scrutiny part got forgotten. it got overlooked, it didn't happen, or when scrutiny made recommendations, even cross-party, the Cabinet ignored them. And I'm not talking about just cabinets of one party, it was cabinets of all parties. So I think what we have to be careful of is whatever system we get launched on a wave of bonhomie and goodwill does not degrade in the way that our cabinet and scrutiny system did when we set it up originally back in 2000 or whatever it is, because it did work quite well for a while and then it fell over. So I am not going to vote against this motion or for it, because I actually think I might vote for it, because I actually think the important thing is to have a discussion and actually get out the trench warfare we've had and talk to each other and see whether we can come up with something that flipping well works. Because there are cabinet systems that do work and there are cabinet systems that don't. And the ones that work best are the ones that are inclusive and do not have what we ended up with in Maidstone of a cabinet member sitting in a room with an officer making a decision which they then found they were committed to, and because they were committed to it, they wouldn't listen to any other input. And that's what we ended up with. And that is what we must absolutely avoid. And I'm glad I will be on the relevant committee to discuss this. But if this comes back with a winner-takes-all scenario, then I will be voting against it at that time, and I will be vigorously campaigning against it, because that is what we assuredly must not have.
Thank you, Councillor English. Councillor Munford.
That was my hearing aids dropping out. Can you hear me? I can't hear myself. I've thought long and hard of whether to speak today, but for the first time, for a long time, I'm speaking for the Independent Party, who are all against introducing a dictatorial, autocratic system in this council. So we're united on it. The sentiments there's, the words mine. I would like to address the leader of the council, the newly appointed leader of the council. He knows, and I know, that you cannot appoint a leader. Leaders are not born. Leaders are judged and emerge through what they do. He is in an excellent position as a leader. You have the final word on any decision. You know that. You can go forward with confidence. It's going to go your way. You have a team of 55 members who have a common agreed objective. And that is very important. Sometimes you have to search for that, but it's here. Our objective, and this is collectively, to be involved to do the best we can for the residents of Maidstone. And we all agree with that. So you've got a team of competent people with a common agreed objective. Why do I need all of those people to have a voice? Well, let's look at the appalling election results we got. Yeah, I say appalling. You'd say to me that you got 53% of the vote. What that means to me is nearly half the people in my ward voted against me. Of the 2,000 people that could have voted for me, only 500 did. That means I only represent 25% of my ward. How can that 75% of my ward be listened to? Through the views and the opinions of 55 members, the majority of them will be covered. You must not gag those voices. You will talk to us about decision-making being quicker. We know the only time you have to make a quick decision is when you have a crisis. And they are all programmed in, or the ones we know about them. That we've got delegated powers that deal with the crisis. You might talk about cost of a decision. Well, if you tell me what the price of a correct decision is, I will tell you the cost of a poor decision. And I think to gag members of this council will work against you. You need the synergy of the ideas. 2 and 2 make 5. When you get ideas flowing, initiatives flowing.
Can you bring it to a close, please, Councillor Munford? You've had more than 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Munford. I now have Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say, actually, congratulations to the new leader of the council, who actually wasn't appointed, but I believe he's been anointed because it wasn't contested. Just a little minor point. The second thing is, I thought we were referring this item to a committee. We're not arguing about which way it's going to go, because at this point in time, we don't know which way it will go. At this point in time, we are referring the current system, and we're going to have a look at it. Does it work? Does it do what we need it to do? Does it do what we want it to do? We're not saying cabinet winner takes all. We're not saying committee with lots of people doing lots of things. My understanding is at this point in time, we take something and we put it under the microscope and we analyse it and we think about it. And as Councillor English says, we have cross-party decisions and discussions. But at this point in time, we are not saying this system, that system, that system. We are merely saying it refers to a committee. Is that correct, Madam Mayor? It is just being referred at this time. So members, this is not a decision today on what system we have, but the fact that we refer it. So can we do one thing at a time, please?
I'm just, before I go to Councillor Burton, I'm just wondering about whether or not the clear decisions should be made today or whether or not you're actually saying it goes to democracy. But can I take Councillor David Burton?
Madam Mayor, if I may. Members, I'm in a fairly unique position because in recent time I've been a cabinet member and I've been chair of committee. And first-hand, in relatively recent times, have worked in both systems. The first point I would like to make is, if one has a majority, be it committee or cabinet, and control of decisions is an output of the democratic choice that people made to create that majority. The system that we choose to use doesn't affect that. But the kinds of things I would like you to consider, and the purpose of this motion is that we make the decision to change and then find out what the very best system for this council would be. The kinds of things I would like you to consider is accountability. The decision making is full council or committees, the service committees, which most typically meet once a month. And then underneath that, we have a scheme of delegation to officers. And officers are required to make a lot of decisions under that scheme because there's no interim meetings. It's not worth calling the meeting for this decision, that decision. And there is no mechanism to call in an officer decision. And I think it places officers in a position that, quite frankly, they shouldn't be faced with. We are responsible, we collectively are responsible for decisions, and they should be transparent, and they should be accountable, and they should be subject to scrutiny, and the call-in process is a great safeguard in that. So please consider with slightly more open minds if we review this. There's another important factor that I think you should consider. Amongst ourselves, by our own mandate, there is no delegated authority. And believe me, that there are many times when members from this council are given responsibility to represent. And I'll give you an example, the Maidstone East Strategic Board. Through the SPY committee, I was asked to sit on that board. And working with our colleagues at County, we fathom, should we rent out the car park? Should we appoint consultants to do this? Should we spend that? But I sat on that board with no authority to make a decision. When you come to the, well, what shall we do? It's actually left up to, well, I'd be inclined to do this. But our officers have to make the decision. There's no accountability in that for the influence that members are being put into a position to actually negotiate on behalf of the council. There's no accountability. And you can only have the delegated authority through an executive system. You know, I think there is great merit, perhaps, in considering a cabinet system with advisory committees.
3 minutes are nearly up, Councillor Burton.
So, look, there are many other reasons. I've given you a few. They're in the interest of more openness, more accountability, and the next stage would be consideration of what works best for this council, but more importantly, what works best for our residents.
I've got Councillor Garton next, I believe. Sorry, Councillor Garton, I just couldn't see you. Go ahead.
It's the COVID crisis. That was our emergency. We were not in a position to take quick decisions. We had to set up an unconstitutional COVID emergency group, which was politically balanced and also staffed with the chief executive and her officers. This was non-constitutional. It does not work in our system by our current constitution to run our committee system in emergencies. And that's why I support this motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Garton. Are there any more speakers? Thank you, Councillor Joy. Just spotted you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't going to speak, but I think it's already been pointed out we're not here to debate it. But there's a couple of words, you know what I'm like with my notebook and scribbling. A couple of the words I've written down as people have been speaking. The word that jumped up was arguing, and I know it can be put in a different way than what you said it. You didn't want arguing to happen. And the other word I wrote down was inclusive. Can I just ask you to just go away and remember those two words? Because arguing doesn't allow inclusivity. And that's what we've got to make sure happens. And not just what winner wants and who takes all. It is the residents of Maidstone that we have got to take into account at all costs. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Joy. I appreciate that if you look at the actual items of agenda item 18, it does ask us to consider the Council agrees in principle to revert to executive arrangements. Then the second part is that we recognise the substantial work that's involved. And the third part is that we refer it to Democracy and General Purposes Committee to work it all out. So be very clear about what we are voting on. Do we actually accept it in principle or not? If we do accept it in principle, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And I certainly take up Councillor Joy's point that has previously been brought up about inclusivity. Okay, members, are we okay to go to the vote? Can I have everybody who is in favour to hold up their cards high so that they can be counted? 28. Okay, can I have all those against? Hold your cards up high, red ones. You and me against the rest of them, Derek. Are there any abstentions, please? Thank you. Members, that motion was... Whoops, are you all right? What? Actually, the motion was carried. I didn't see any indication that there was a problem of any kind or any... 29-4. Thank you. Okay. The motion is still carried. Thank you, members. That motion has been carried and will be referred to Democracy Committee. Let's move on to agenda item 19, the question of whole council elections. Councillor Perry, I look to you, please, to move your motion. Oh, I should say that it's convenient and conducive to dispatch the business that the motion is dealt with by the Council today. A factual briefing note has been circulated. Over to you, Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, at the briefing given by the Local Government Boundary Commission, it was made very clear that if the current system of election by thirds were to be retained, borough council wards would have to comprise 3 members. It was noted that there could be exceptions, but these are rarely granted. Now, we all know that there are a number of wards that are single-member, 2-member, and they are there for historic and many other reasons, and we want to maintain them. Therefore, in the light of the Boundary Commission's default position, the Council requests and requires that officers produce a report on whole council elections for the next Democracy and General Purposes Committee meeting to enable the Democracy and General Purposes Committee to reconsider whether the current system of election by thirds is fit for purpose and report back to the Council with its considered views. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Councillor Pearl, are you seconding? Was that a yes? And you don't wish to speak or anything? Okay, thank you. Well, I might as well move to the vote then. All, hang on. Oh, I beg your pardon. Councillor Harper, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Please speak.
It's not going to be a surprise to anybody that the Labour group's going to vote against this proposal. We don't believe in 4 yearly elections. We believe in annual pre-yearly elections. We believe that to be much more democratic and to maintain accountability. We think it keeps the council in touch with public opinion, which shifts year to year, and means the council reflects that. It maintains continuity, so we don't go to a situation where every 4 years 50-60% of the council is new, and then you have a number of years when the council is ineffective because you're primarily new members. You'll also ultimately, and if we look on the briefing note, we've discussed this 6 times, 5 times in the last 7 years, and each time it's been thrown out. I'll remind everybody that this requires a 2/3 vote, ultimately, of the council to move to 4 yearly elections, which requires 37 people at some stage, I think, to vote in favour of it. So far, over the last 7 or 8 years, there's never been that number. And looking around today, I can quite imagine that when it comes back to this chamber, or well, if we're in the town hall, hopefully in the town hall, again, there won't be that number of people in favour of it. So I just feel we're wasting time tonight, or today, proposing this, going through a discussion, and then it not being ultimately supported by the full council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. If there's nobody else that wishes to speak, do bear in mind, members, that this is to require the officers to produce a report on whole council elections to the next Democracy and General Purposes Committee. Now, all those in favour, will you please hold your cards high? All those against, please hold your cards high, the red ones. Are there any abstentions, please? The yellow card? No? No? In that case, thank you, Ryan. In that case, members, the motion is carried. We expect to see a report going yet again to general purposes. Now, we are now going to act as corporate trustee of the charity known as the Coptery Manor Estate, which brings us to item 20 on page 30 of your papers, review of allocation of seats on the Coptery Manor Estate Charity Committee. I call on the Head of Policy, Communications and Governance to submit her report.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, my apologies. I commend the report to Council.
Okay, is there a seconder, please? Oh yes, our proposer was Councillor Cox, and a seconder... Oh, was Councillor English. Thank you very much indeed. Is the motion agreed, members? Lovely, thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 21, appointment of the Coptery Manor Estate Charity Committee. I look to the leader to move the motion.
Meeting, the meeting be accepted.
We managed it. Thank you, the leader. Is there a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Annabelle. You were quick off the mark. Is the motion agreed, members? Agreed. Lovely. Thank you very much. The Council is now acting as corporate trustee of the Queen's Own Royal West Kent Regiment Museum Trust, which is agenda item 22 on page 34. Review of allocation of seats on the Queen's Own Royal West Kent Regiment Museum Trust Committee. I call on the Head of Policy, Communications and Governance again to submit her report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I commend the report to Council.
Lovely. Do I have a seconder, please? Oh, now, Councillor Burton, you were sort of half standing up. Is that, what's that then? Lovely. Thank you very much. You're going to move it. Thank you. And the seconder was Marion. I know what it feels to lose the plot. Thank you. Is the motion agreed, members? Thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 23, appointment of the Queen's Own Royal West Kent Regiment Museum Trust Committee. Would you like to move the motion? Lovely. Thank you very much, Leader. Do I have a seconder? Oh, that was Councillor Round. Thank you very much, Councillor Round. Is the motion agreed, members? Agreed. Lovely. Thank you very much. Well, members, I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor.